All right. So there are three reasons why your business is not able to successfully implement AI to be more effective. And I'm going to talk about those three things because someone sent in a question and it was started off as a comment where they said, "Hey, I hear all these great things about AI, but we are not seeing those benefits show up in our business." So in between me cooking on the grill, I decided I'll sit down and make this video to help, the people who ask that question, because I think there are a lot of people who are asking that question because we hear so many topics about AI is doing this or AI is changing the game and all of these great things that are popping up, and in which I do think a lot of it is true that AI is changing the game, but a lot of people are still kind of standing on the sidelines watching, and they're missing out on some great opportunities. Now, the three reasons why I think many businesses struggle to successfully implement AI in a way that is beneficial. The first one is ignorance. Now, you may not have heard of AI before, or maybe you have heard of AI. If you haven't heard of it, okay, it's because you didn't know about it. But for some people who have heard about it, what often happens is they've never really heard about very practical utilization or practical use cases for the AI and how it relates to their business. And so if it's hard for you to implement what you don't know. And so a lot of people may have heard about AI in general, but they haven't really become aware of what AI can practically mean in a use case for their business. So I'm going to talk about that a little bit. The second one is it comes down to fear that their data is going to be exposed to the wrong parties. And also, there's a second type of fear. And this fear, I think, is probably more prevalent. And not many people talk about this second fear. The second fear is the fear that your job is going to be taken away. Now, if you're the owner of the business or you're the leader in the business, you may not necessarily think that. But what I have seen, and we live through it in our own organization, and I've seen it in other organizations, is that the people who will actually be implementing and utilizing the AI, those people might be afraid that they're going to lose their job. And although they may not say it out loud, subconsciously in the back of their mind, there is something that's holding them back from actually utilizing the AI because they've kind of defined themselves in light of like, hey, this is what I do. And if the AI does it, then what does that mean for me? And as a leader, that is something that you have to address. And we're going to talk about that. And the third reason is cost. When it comes down to AI, a lot of people are unsure, like, what is it going to cost? What does that look like? I mean, there's so many different options out there and stuff like that. So we'll talk about those. So let's take a step back and I'm going to go one by one and break these down. And I'm not going to take very long because I do got to get back to cooking. So the first one is ignorance. Now, as I said, AI as a topic, a lot of people have heard about it. If you haven't heard about it, AI is artificial intelligence. Now, now that we've gotten past just the very basics, let's talk about some use cases. So I'll talk about accounting firms because I know accounting firms well. So when it comes down to AI, here are some very common places that AI can be used. AI can be used in improving your processes. Now, anybody in the organization can actually do it. So here's a very, very practical example. What I mean is if there's a process that you do in your organization, like let's say client onboarding, like when someone signs a new contract, how do we get them started to make sure we start actually delivering the work? So what you could do is go into an AI tool, type out, here's what we currently do. And then what I would say is follow it with this prompt. If you were our accounting firm, what would you do to make this onboarding process better? Now, once you put that in, it is going to take the process you laid out and it's going to go back and give you, hey, here are some recommendations of what we would do to make this process better. And that is a very simple way that you can really start to understand like how to leverage AI. Now, another very good way is You can take that same thing, take your onboarding process and say, hey, when a client signs a contract, here are the steps and here are the things that need to happen. Another prompt you can also ask is, hey, if you were a customer of our accounting firm or our business, what part of this process would frustrate you the most? And that is a very important thing for you to know, because you need to understand what part of your process is the most frustrating to your customers. Because if you can figure out how to develop a better solution for it, or how to get ahead of the frustration, it will increase the satisfaction of your clients. Because when your client is going through that, they might be frustrated, but they may not express it to you right away. And think about it like this: you don't want the relationship to start off in frustration. You want to make sure that you're able to deliver exceptional value in the start of the relationship and ongoing throughout the relationship. So, those are some very practical ways that you can use it in process improvement or even identifying problems. Now, you can also utilize it when it comes down to hiring and recruiting. Like, one of the things that I put in there is, we went to ChatGPT and we said, okay, all right, we're looking to hire a bookkeeper. Give us the description of the ideal bookkeeper. And then we put in our website because we want it to be contextual to our website. So we let the AI tell us, hey, for the tlturnergroup.com, it went in, it analyzed our website, it learned what it needed to learn about our website. And then it came back and said, the ideal bookkeeper, based on what the AI learned from our website, it said, here's the description of what an ideal bookkeeper would look like for your organization. And then what we did is we said, okay, if you were interviewing candidates, what questions would you ask for us to understand if this person is the ideal candidate? And what it did is it gave us a description of what an ideal candidate looks like. And it also gave us a list of questions that we could ask to actually interview people. And then what I did is we handed that list of questions to our staff, because our staff did the initial rounds of interviews with potential candidates. And so there's a couple of cases, fixing your processes, and you could also use the AI for actually preparing you for finding and interviewing the right types of candidate. Now, on the marketing side, I think there are a ton of different ideas that you can do. For example, if you know who your ideal client is, you can describe it in AI and say, hey, these are our ideal clients. Tell us, what are the top 5 things that these types of businesses or these types of clients would be most concerned about? And once you get that list of their top 5 concerns, all you need to do is either create content, or you can create, whether it's video, whether it's written, whether it's audio, or whether you want to put it like in your email newsletter, just address those 5 common challenges and problems that your ideal clients might be facing. Because if you can speak to their problems, then you're more likely to increase the chances of them noticing you and them saying like, hey, your organization is probably a good one that could help us because we're experiencing some of those problems. Now, when it comes down to the actual work, I would say is you do want to be careful, and this kind of leads into number 2 of the fear, is you do want to be careful not to put any confidential information in these tools. The tools are not designed with the security, or I guess you would say, to be used with confidential information. It is something that the tools often mention. Do not put confidential information in the tool. Now, if there is an AI already built into let's say the practice management software, or an existing software that you pay for, then I would say likely there's a firewall, there's a barrier around that. But if you are using any free AI solution, do not put confidential information in it. Even if you are paying for it, I would say proceed with caution and awareness about understanding what's going on with the data. Now, another thing is to address the fear is that a lot of people are afraid that, hey, my information is going to train the model, which is why I say, if you are going to use AI, don't put specific information about your company. Like, for example, if you're using it to develop a question for interviews when you're hiring people, don't put the candidate's name in what you're putting into AI. You can ask it a general question like, hey, an ideal client or an ideal candidate or, bookkeeper for my company, what questions should I ask them in an interview? And it'll give you some context, some ideas. Uh, Now, you can also use it also for your current staff, because what I have noticed is a lot of organizations have never taken the time to really identify for their current staff what ideal looks like for for the roles that are currently on your team. Especially if someone has been on your team for at least a year already, you probably need to go back and revisit their job description or their role on the team. And you need to make it clear to them as like, hey, now that the organization has grown or developed more, we need to make sure that we are on the same page about what the ideal looks like for the role that you currently have. And you can tell them, I'm not firing you, but we do need to update our standards for this role because you've been doing it for a while. There's some things we probably should update and change. And you can use AI as a starting point to say, hey, give me the ideal for this role. Now, on the other side of fear, now this one is something that I don't hear a lot of people talking about, is the fear that people are going to lose their job, because people in your organization are probably thinking that themselves, but they may not have come out and told you that they're afraid that AI is going to take their job, but that may be a thought in the back of their mind. And this is why I think you have to be proactive as a leader in your organization to actually introduce your team to effective ways that they can utilize AI. For example, my content writer is an amazing content writer, and she really prided herself on being able to write some great content, which she does amazingly. And I encouraged her to utilize AI. Now, a couple of conversations we had, she said, well, you know, I like to write it myself, or I'm not really sure what AI will generate. And I could tell there was some level of apprehension and fear there. And so what I did is I set up a meeting. I said, hey, all right, here's what I need from you, or here's what you can do. You can take, I created a presentation and we needed to write some blogs about the presentation that I created. I created a very short outline. I said, here's what you can do. Take the outline that I created, put it in the AI tool. Ask the AI a prompt something like this. Hey, what would Terrell A. Turner CPA, and the reason why I state my full name like that is because I wanted her to ask the AI specifically about me. What would Terrell A. Turner add to this presentation that he is giving for the Association of Legal Administrators if this is his brief outline? His objective is to help train legal administrators on ways that they can better understand the finance side of running a law firm. So she added that prompt in there, or that question in there, and then she pasted in my very short, brief outline. And then what happened is the AI took the brief outline and it did research on me personally online, because she asked specifically about Terrell A. Turner CPA. And then the AI gave her a more detailed outline to say, if Terrell A. Turner was giving this presentation, here are some of the details that he would add to this outline. And then when she brought it back to me, I looked at it and I said, man, there's enough video content, there's enough social media posts, there's enough written content, there's enough, like I've been on enough podcasts where, hey, the AI was able to search my name on the internet and find out a lot of information about me. And the answer that it gave her, when I read it, I was like, yeah, this actually sounds like what I would say. This is what I would have wrote. Like, now it would have taken me maybe an hour and a half to write it for her and then give it to her. But by her using the AI, she got the answers that she needed in less than probably 3 minutes. And so by showing my content writer, hey, the AI isn't here to replace you. The AI is here to help fill in some of the gaps and to help us move faster. And as I started showing her and I showed different people on the team how to use the AI to fill in some of the gaps or how to use the AI in concert with their existing role, what I noticed is their fear about AI replacing them started to decrease. And what they really started looking at AI as a tool to actually help them actually be more effective, to help them actually get their job done faster, to help them be able to get the routine stuff off of their desk so that they could focus on the things that they were more impressed by or the things that they were more interested in. And also, I met with some of the people on the team and I asked them the question. I said, hey, based on your job, can you list 3 things that you really just don't like doing in your job? And several people listed, hey, here are the things that if I could avoid doing these things, or if I didn't have to do these things, it would make my job better. And what we realize is many of the things that people on the team put on the list were things that AI could do for them. And so I came back to some of the employees and I said, hey, I see this is on your list. What if I can show you a way to let AI do that for you? And then I came back and I said, hey, if we took this off of your desk and we got AI to do it for you, what is one thing that you wish you could do in your job that you just don't currently have the capacity for? And they said, oh, that would be great. I would love to spend more time doing this and this and this. And I said, okay, this is why we should use AI, because we want to use AI to take the stuff that you don't want to do off your desk to give you more time to do the things that you really want to focus on. And as I begin to explain AI that way, what you started to see is the fear go down. And so in your organization, what you should ask yourself is, I know you may have asked or you may have told the team that they need to utilize AI, but have you actually taken the time to demonstrate to them how the AI tool can actually help take things off their desk, or how the AI tool can help them actually work faster? And which means you probably need to do a little bit of thinking yourself on how to use the AI to help them. And here's another tip is you can actually go into the AI and say, hey, if I have a accounting manager, what are 5 ways that AI can help my accounting manager be more effective? And tell me how I can demonstrate this to the accounting manager in a way that they won't be afraid that AI is going to take their job. If you ask the AI that question, it's going to give you an answer, and it's probably going to give you some ideas on how you can introduce your accounting manager to the AI tools in a way that doesn't make her or him afraid that they're going to lose their job. Now, the third thing is cost. Now, when it comes down to cost, I know a lot of firms or a lot of businesses are just like, well, how much is this tool going to cost? And to be honest with you, most of the AI tools out there are not very expensive. Like, for example, like the most popular one is probably ChatGPT, which you can get a pro plan for $20 a month. Now, I know some people are like, well, for $20 a month, like, is it really worth it? And what I would tell you is it depends on how you use it. If you're using it for some of those use cases that I mentioned, then I think it would be amazing. It would be great. It would be well worth it. I mean, we've used AI, we've used ChatGPT in many cases for like our accounting team on, hey, how to write a formula, or hey, I am trying to calculate this. How would I do it in Google Sheets? And what the AI will do is it will give them the formula. All they need to do is copy it and then take it into their file. Or let's say someone's trying to the finance team is trying to create dashboard. How would you do a index match formula? And then they explain what they're trying to do, and the tool will actually give them the answer. And what it's done is it's sped things up to the point that we've been able to increase the number of data analytics clients we have because we utilize the tool to help speed them up. And guess what? The subscription per user only cost us $20 per month. So if we could get one new CFO client because we're able to deliver data analytics faster, it's well worth the $20 per user a month to be able to do that. And so you do need to look at what are some of the use cases, because I could probably tell you the amount of benefit that you can get from using AI will well exceed the cost. Like when you're comparing it and you're doing the math, because like I said, ChatGPT, the most popular one, is $20 a month. I think Perplexity, depending on which level you get, they have a free level, a pro level, and then they have an enterprise level. Enterprise level, maybe $40 a month. I think you have Claude, you have Copilot. There's all these different ones. And then you also have, I guess Google has theirs. There's so many different amazing, platforms out there. And what I would say is that the cost is not as much as you would think it is. And also, you can always just start with one license, or you can start with a free one and start utilizing it, because what I will tell you, the value you can get out of it when you are using it effectively in your business will far outweigh any other cost that's related to paying for the AI tool. So I hope this was very helpful. As I said, I need to get back to cooking because I am pretty hungry, but I'm glad that we can stop and address the questions. And for those of you that do have other questions about some of the things that we're doing, because I think someone saw the post that we did talking about AI, how we're using it in our business. And we've done, many talks on outsourcing, on marketing, on sales, business development, as we just share our journey of the things that we're learning as we are growing the business. So if you do have questions, feel free always, you can leave a comment on our post on social media. You can send, an email to contact@tlturnergroup.com. And what we will do is our team, we will work on getting to those questions, and we'll try to create more videos to address your questions. So thanks for tuning in, and make sure you hit subscribe to tune in for more episodes.
Thank you for tuning in to another episode of the Finance and Accounting Show. If you like what you heard, don't be selfish. Make sure you hit that subscribe button and then share this with a friend, because you know a business owner that could definitely use this insight. So be sure to hit that subscribe button, share it with a friend, and turn on the notification bell so you get all the updates when we release a new episode.